it's Angelina and Dima here from Walking Edge World, and today we have a very special video for you, where we're going to share our new discovered piece of gear that we believe is great to have for any hiker, and that is a good old Lixada wood stove.
We can't believe it took us so long to discover it, but here it is, our review and experience with it after been using it for one hiking season. As always, we'll tell you the general specs of it, show its performance, and then share our tips and overall opinion about it.
So without further ado, let's begin. And we want to start just by telling you why and how we initially decided to get this wood stove. Because if you've watched us for some time, you know that we actually always preferred the gas stove system. It was a very spontaneous purchase just before we were setting off for a long distance hike in the mountains, when we suddenly realized that we might not meet any stores on the way where we could buy the camping gas. As we already remembered our experience on Camino de Santiago hike, where it seemed so easy to find it, as we passed by many stores, but yet we faced the situation when we were left without a fuel for several days. And you know how we like to cook our own food, so this was a big deal for us. So with this year hike, knowing that it will be mostly in the wild, and passing just very little villages with small grocery stores in them, it was a very needed alternative. Of course, we knew about the existence of the stoves in the camping world before, but we just didn't feel the need of it. And also thought that the gas system is more secure and convenient anyway.
So we researched the market a little bit and saw there are plenty of different wood stove available, of different sizes and brands. But of course, just trying it out for the first time, we didn't want to spend a fortune on it, so we went with the Chinese brand Lixada that we had to pay double price for because we were in a rush and had to order it on Amazon instead of AliExpress store. Don't follow our example in this, please. So this is how we got it. Now let's have a look at the technical specs of it.
So it comes with a storage bag that takes very little space and compact. Wood stove fits perfectly in it. The wood stove itself is made of the lightweight titanium plates that is obviously stainless because of the material. It is also very resistant to high temperature and so doesn't deform. Even though at first the plate seemed quite thin to us and unreliable, then on practice it proved us wrong, and for how lightweight it is, it's hard to beat. There are some stoves made of steel, for example, that we wouldn't recommend for the lightweight backpack as they weigh at least twice as much. So the weight of titanium wood stove we have is 177 grams or 6.2 ounces. We took the size M and note that it is not the smallest one. Its spec dimensions are 20.7 cm long, 17.5 cm wide and 0.8 cm high. And fully assembled dimensions are 12.8 cm to 12.8 cm and 16.2 cm high. We didn't know what dimensions we would need initially and kind of took it by guess. By measuring our cooking pot, we decided to go with the bigger one. But now we know for sure that the wood stove has to fit your cooking pot, and if it will be smaller, then the cooking process would be painful and you won't be able to do it properly. We can say that we nicked it, and this size suits our needs very well. So now let's put it up together. As you can see, it is made of 5 titanium plates, 4 of them joined to each other wall to wall by the special bindings, and the 5th one lays on the bottom. We found that the easiest way to set it up is to tie the 4 walls together first, and leaving the last 4th corner untied, insert the bottom plate and then join the final corner. It takes some time to get used to it and be able to do it faster. Let us know if you have any other techniques with this, because we found it quite challenging, especially the first couple of times, as the plates don't stay in place and can easily unhook. So now that it is all set up, you can see how it looks. It has an opening to add wood and lots of air vents to provide good ventilation and efficient combustion. We would prefer the bottom plate to have smaller openings, but it still works, so it's fine. The other important thing to know is the place where to set it up. Obviously it has to be done outside, far from your tent, and ideally on some rocky surface. We found that it is the safest way to use it because you don't have any dry grass around and there is less danger for something to fire up. Then it's important to make sure it stays flat on the rock, and most importantly, control that all the legs are touching the ground and all the joints are connected.
Always check it before setting up a fire, and especially before putting cooking pot on it. In one of the first time using it, we had an incident when a whole construction fell apart, and our pot with boiling water knocked over, which was pretty scary because there was a fire already. But it all happened because one of the hooks wasn't properly connected, and the stove fell apart under the weight of the cooking pot. After that, we always check it very well before starting cooking and never happen again.
Then very important to set it up in the wind so that the wind is blowing right in the window where to put the wood. In this case, the nice airflow would be provided, which is very important for the good firepower. Of course, again choose the place far from the tent and all the things at least 5 meters away, otherwise everything will end up being with the smoke that's hard to air out quickly. Also, the wind direction should be away from the tent. These types of stoves just love the wind and it's worth to learn how to handle it. To set the fire with it, all you need is to find some dry fuel around you like branches, hay, bark, cones, etc. In any forest area it is very easy. It can work also on the alcohol fuel, you can find it in any household store, but then the extra tray is needed and you have to carry some liquid with you. We would love to try it also because it can ensure that you'll be able to set the fire in any rainy or wet conditions. So to start the fire is better with the small dry branches or the green tree moss that we found the most effective of all because of how dry it is. Anything paper-like is great too. Also, we've seen some people using the cloth previously prepared before the trip and dipped in paraffin. We have no experience with this one, so please tell us if you do. When just starting, don't put in the ashtray too many wood, especially thick branches. Let the fire to start. Then after the bigger branches begin to burn, you can put your cooking pot on the stove. It is useless to do before that and it will just get in your way when putting the branches and obstruct the good airflow. It is better to prepare some stack of wood at hand so that you don't have to constantly search for it. Then when the pot is on the stove, you can start adding the bigger branches to the fire. Not too big of course, but not too small either, that will burn very quickly. And if you need to boil the water, the bigger wood is the best at this, as they give a lot of heat and it means it will boil very quickly. Of course, if you just need to cook scrambled eggs, for example, you don't need that much heat at all. Then, when the water is boiling, you can start adding the smaller branches and control that your meal is not burning from the bottom. The thing with this stove is that you have to always stay close to it and control the whole process for a quicker cooking and safety reasons, of course. You can slow down the fire little by little until your meal is ready. It will take different amount of time depending on what you cook. Then we are taking the pot off, and while we eat, we normally let all the branches to turn to ash and burn out completely. Then when everything has cooled down, the ashes will be carried away by the wind and there will be no traces of the fire. Because it is so small, it is very minor overall. Very important to check that everything has burned out before you go to sleep or leave the place. Of course, you can use a bit of water too to really make sure it is safe. Then just dismounting the stove, which is much easier than setting it up, and putting it into its storage bag. We used the extra plastic bag as well to make sure it won't stain any things inside the backpack. We do the same with the cooking pot. It is a bit of inconvenience to think about it for sure, but necessary to do. Talking about the stores where you can get the stove, it is of course AliExpress, where you can find tons of different options for a budget price. There it costs somewhere between $11 to $15. We always look at the amount of orders made of the particular seller and read the people's reviews. On Amazon there are several options as well, but as we said the price is much higher, $20 to $25. But of course the shipping is much quicker on Amazon. Also you can check any other local outdoor related store and you should be able to find it there. As always, we'll leave all the links to the stores in the description below the video. And that is all we've learned so far about this wood stove. You know that we are not big fans of the bonfires, but this little thing has definitely showed us a new way of using it. We like that this type of wood stove are allowed to use in many countries, including the strict ones, simply because it is not comparable to the usual bonfires. And we got the proof of it while using it. We are very happy with how it performs and it never failed us in the wilderness. And we're always able to cook, heat up the water and food. It weighs very little and you barely notice that you carry it. And we've used it interchangeably with our gas stove and it was great to have this option.
We've used it a lot for shower system in the woods, for heating the water, and it is just perfect for that. Because you don't have to think about limited fuel. Make sure to watch our video about how we take shower in the woods. It will appear on the screen. Also we want to continue doing this series about different stove options. So stay tuned for the wood stove comparison video, as well as gas stove versus wood stove video. So this is all for today. Let us know in the comments below what is your experience with the wood stove. Hit the like button if you found this video useful and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more hiking gear reviews and tips.
We'll see you very soon, guys. Bye!